Hi everyone and welcome back to Switch Up. I'm Mark Walker and today we're going to look at the game Summer in Mara, which originally started out as a Kickstarter and went on to receive 9,523 backers who pledged over 200,000 euros to make it happen. It promised to be a mixture of Stardew Valley and Wind Waker with a simplistic RPG system thrown out. Hang on. Sorry, one second. Could you just go downstairs and fetch an orange for me? I'll wait. Awesome. Thank you for the orange. Nice one. Anyway, I'll carry on. With a simplistic RPG system whereby you'll be undertaking several tasks for different people at... Whoa, sorry. Yeah, I've run out of ink. If you go and get me some ink, it's all the way on the other side of town. Yeah, go and get me some ink. Nice one. So it has a simplistic system, promises to allow you to upgrade your own farm and balance the circle of life. But is it fun? Well... let's find... Sorry, I forgot the word out. I left the out on the other side of town. If you go and get the word out for me, go fetch it, and then I'll wait here, bring it back, finish the sentence. Nice one. Cheers, perfect. Let's find out. You take on the role of Koa, a young girl who is abandoned at sea and is then adopted by a strange, mother-like figure with a mysterious past, which you learn about as you go throughout the title. There are some early cutscenes that look beautiful and I was really impressed by the production values. However, as the experience progressed, they became fewer and far between. When the game opens up and allows you a touch more freedom, story will be generally delivered through visiting and conversing with one of the 25 characters that you'll meet along the way. Aside from the main storyline, there are tons of different side missions that, while they have their own motivations, tend to involve a very similar approach, but we'll talk about those in the gameplay section. Without going into too much detail, there's motivation in the fact that you're no longer under the care of the person who looked after you for most of your life, and as you travel about the land you want to find out more about her and also potentially where she went. Some of the dialogue suffers a little bit from lost in translation-itis, with sentences and word structures that just you wouldn't use in an English-speaking country. It's not terrible, I just noticed it on a number of occasions and it's certainly worth mentioning. In terms of the gameplay, it's split into a few different areas. There's your home island, which unfortunately you can't rename. It would have been nice to have put a personal touch in that regard, which has your farm on it that you've inherited and also a mysterious energy-giving well, which again you'll learn more about as you progress. Having the farm's always a nice touch and gives the game a focus. However, there's a problem quite early on that needs mentioning. When you plant your crops and water them, as with say a Stardew Valley, as they use that as their own example, normally when you harvest you then get some more seeds that you can plant. However, here you don't get any seeds, you just get the item and you'll have to get in your boat and sail over to the nearest town. Now there is one main town in the middle of the map which you can fast travel to using your boat if you want to spend the coins, and this is generally where you'll be able to purchase different seeds and items and also sell items back to shopkeepers. What you'll notice throughout this review are that there are just small decisions that the developer has made which impact the overall enjoyment of the experience. When you're selling items, for example, in any game ever, you can go into the selling section, this is done by pressing X in this game, choose the items you want to sell, and then go back into the buying section and offset that to end up with an overall figure that you can then complete the transaction with. That's not the case here. If you move from the buy to the sell section, everything you'd placed into your basket is suddenly gone. It gets really frustrating because you do it without thinking. Small things like when you stack up different items to sell. Say you want to sell 20 of something. You can't quickly select 20. You have to go through each an individual button press to get to that 20. And then again, you make one mistake and you have to do it all again. There's lots of little tweaks the game needs to do to improve its usability. Now with that said, I can handle that. That's okay, I can get past that. The next element is the quest mechanic, and this is perhaps the biggest issue with the game. Yeah, let's just talk about those for a second. There are 300 different ones in the game, and I can promise you there are 301 fetch quests to do. These are literally mid-sentence. Actually, I can't tell you that anymore. You need to go and fetch me 2 lettuces. And where do I get the lettuces from? Well, let me think. I'm on this island. I have to go all the way back to my island. I have to plant the lettuce, grow the lettuce. I have to wait 2 days by sleeping, and then I have to head back with these lettuce in the boat. Again, maybe I'll fast travel, but that'll cost me the only money I've got. And then I have to run across the island and I'll get back with these 2 lettuces, a big smile on my face. And she'll go, "Oh, those are amazing lettuces and now I need to cook them. Go and get me my pan." And I'll say, "Where the hell is my pan?" And she'll say, "They're on your island." I have done maybe 200 of those fetch quests, and I can't do them anymore. I just can't, and it spoils what is otherwise such a nice potential experience. And we'll talk about the good elements as well, but the fetch quest nature of all of those, and that's why they call it simple RPG in the description, that essentially just means fetch quests. And it's a shame, because there are other options they could have gone for. In a similar vein to Stardew, you do have a stamina bar and all of the actions that you carry out throughout the game, such as planting crops, mining things, creating tools, anything will take up your stamina. And you can replenish this by eating, drinking, making food in the kitchen of your home. But if it reaches 0 and you get really tired, then you're going to eventually need to sleep, because that stamina bar, the rate at which it reduces, gradually increases. You can purchase a sleeping bag for an extortionate amount of money, and there are other ways to mitigate the effect, but overall eventually you're going to have to go back and sleep. There are a few side activities such as fishing, searching for message crabs, which will then give you some small reward, and you'll be kicking trees to get the fruits and other items out of those that can then be planted to grow your own trees. Now on your island you can only plant, I believe, 40 before you'll reach the upper limit, and to get your farm to a level where you have items such as the larger well or the fridge or the more advanced oven, you will have to do those super mundane fetch quests. The next issue really arises from how much games have changed over the years. Now Summer in Mara doesn't feature any kind of waypoint system at all. You have an overworld map which for some unusual reason focuses on the main town rather than the area you're in, and you've got a islands map which shows the islands you've unlocked. When you select a mission you can see which island you need to go to, but there's no local map, there's no waypoint arrow, there's none of that, and perhaps that was a design choice, but unfortunately when it's combined with unclear directions in terms of the language used, it can be frustrating. And you may look back at a quest that you've been given and it will say something like, go and fetch the new generator. It won't say, go and fetch the new generator that's in the back garden of your island, or go and fetch the new generator that's on island X. So when you look at those for tips and combine that with the lack of any real waypoint, it is a recipe for player frustration. And again, it's a small little tweak that the designers could make to make things better. There are a couple of nice elements like rescuing pigs from the ocean or befriending chicks who will then come to your island if you've made the prerequisite home for them. Again, for me this came far too late in the experience and wasn't explained at all to the player, but this could be the mystery element they want you to find for yourself. Controlling Koa's easy enough. There's a sprint button that will reduce your stamina. The jump is an interesting choice. You jump ludicrously high, and I had a little chat with Irene from Misha Gaming and she quite liked that, but I just thought it was ludicrous. It just seemed really odd, and I actually thought the game was bugged. But you know, it is what it is, and it does help when you need to hop in and out of your boat. As you go through the game, you do unlock new areas of the overworld map, which is your sailing map, and this is done by upgrading your ship. That then allows you to visit new places, which is great. I was hoping that I would go to new towns, new cities on those islands, and that perhaps the experience would be heightened by that. But what it would turn into is this island has silver on it, and I need 2 bars of silver. Can you go and get me some silver? And you'd go over there, get the silver, head back, and then they'd want the blades of grass that were surrounding the silver, and you get the picture. Overall for me, as it stands today, I would give gameplay 12 out of 20. The controls are generally okay, bar a few little quirks like not being able to jump out of the water, or the slightly unusual diving missions which take on a 2D view, and it's just you can control the downward motion but you don't seem to really be able to control swimming back to the surface. Just feels a bit odd. Controls score 15 out of 20. Visually, Summer in Mara has a beautiful aesthetic. They've taken perhaps the best elements of Wind Waker and placed it in a new and interesting tropical archipelago. Colours are vibrant, everything pops. Generally performance is 30 frames per second, but it does drop in the main town, the area you'll spend most of your time. It stutters down to around about, I'd say, 25 frames per second, but the on-screen graphs will confirm this. When sailing around, everything's nice and smooth, and load times, they're okay. They're nothing to write home about. There is a touch of pop-in on the Switch version when you're moving around the world, but it's generally a smooth experience. And the designs of the different islands you'll visit. Character designs are nice, and my favourite element in terms of the visuals has to be the hand-drawn character designs. They obviously have a really talented artist on the team. The music and sound effects, well, they're okay, but there again is a slight issue here. There's absolutely no options menu. None at all. Like nothing. You can either quit out to the main menu, or you can carry on the game. You can't tweak the sensitivities of anything. You can't change the audio volumes of anything, and that's an issue when the sound effects are as quiet as they are in comparison to the music. There also seems to be a slightly strange, I don't know if it's a bug or if it's intentional, but sometimes the music will completely cut out and you'll be plunged into silence or seeming silence because the sound effects are so low. it just has that feeling that they haven't quite finished on all the areas just yet. And, you know, potentially that's the case. With that said, the music here is lovely. And there are some tracks that I just can't get out of my head. Sound effects for the most part are okay, but they're not loud enough. And when you're sailing across the sea, there is most certainly the Wind Waker appeal at times. Visuals and performance right now score 14 out of 20. And the audio 14 out of 20 as well. I will say that in terms of value, the game costing £17.99 at launch with a usual price of £19.99 feels about right to me. There's a lot of gameplay to be had here, and as you progress and begin to unlock all of the farming elements that, in my opinion, you should have had from the start, there's more enjoyment that comes. But to get there, you will be slogging through some tedious questing. Personally, I would say this would be a perfect sale pickup at around about £10, maybe 12, but if you can accept the fact that it's so fetch quest heavy, and you still like the idea of sailing the seas and unlocking new areas and islands, then by all means pick it up on the reduced launch price. Just know what you're getting into. For me, I give value 12 out of 20. A strange one really, a game that I absolutely love the look of, and I enjoy the idea as I gradually build up my island, but for me it doesn't respect the player's time, and that's one of the areas that these games very often fall down with. Even some of the big Nintendo names, let's not lie about it, force you to wait or make you do things which aren't at all fun and are just there to extend the overall runtime. Some of the elements of the game are really nice, and when you're actually able to plant different crops and improve areas of your homestead, it's at its best. But as soon as you head out of your island, it becomes a fetch quest simulator. Overall, it scores a switch up score of 67%. By no means a bad game, but a flawed one. 6 months down the line, with a load of patches and updates, it could be a completely different experience. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of this one, and as always, a big thanks to our patrons who support us each and every month. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya! Ha! Ha!